Although a language barrier typically separates humans and animals, there are moments when we forge powerful connections that transcend words. This remarkable story centers around professional diver James Mosquito, who not only saved a humpback whale, but also received an extraordinary expression of gratitude. The man featured in this picture is James Mosquito, a professional diver who had a once-in-a-lifetime encounter after rescuing a humpback whale. James Mosquito's extraordinary journey began while he was leading a team of volunteers off the coast of San Francisco. Here's how it all began. As James and his team sailed on the water, he noticed a peculiar movement. Uncertain of what it might be, he felt compelled to investigate further. Let's discover what caught James's attention. A splash of water captured James's attention. Although he initially doubted it could be a humpback whale, as these creatures typically don't linger at the surface, curiosity spurred him into action. Upon realizing that the splash of water could indeed be a humpback whale, James instructed his crew to approach it. Let's see if James's hunch was correct. James's intuition proved accurate. The splash of water was indeed created by a humpback whale. However, the fact that the humpback whale remained near the surface indicated that something was amiss. The next image will reveal the reason behind this unusual behavior. Humpback whales typically surface briefly to breathe and then promptly dive beneath the waves. It is not in their nature to linger at the surface. Consequently, James understood that something was terribly wrong. Prepare to be amazed by his next actions. Without hesitation, James leaped into the water and approached the distressed humpback whale. He sensed that the creature was in distress, but he could not have anticipated what he would discover next. The humpback whale was ensnared in fishing nets, a distressing sight given that the whale had been keeping her eye above the water's surface. James still cannot believe how the whale initially responded to his presence. I placed my hand on the whale, right next to its eye, and began to caress it. James recounted about his initial encounter with the humpback whale. However, he soon realized that he needed to liberate the animal. James understood that he had to find a way to free the ensnared whale, so he began to carefully cut away the ropes. This task proved challenging as the humpback whale was entangled in ropes around her tail, mouth, and face. The next question is, how did the humpback whale react to these efforts? To the astonishment of everyone, the humpback whale displayed remarkable cooperation with James throughout the rescue mission. While James worked on removing the longest rope secured to the whale's back, he still needed to deal with those entangled around her tail and mouth. Fortunately for James, the humpback whale proved highly cooperative. James recounts how the whale even opened her mouth, allowing him to cut the ropes entwined there. Although James harbored some concern that the whale might inadvertently close her mouth, he pressed on with the task at hand. Things took a slightly nerve-wracking turn when James reached the tail. Keeping the whale calm was crucial, and James knew precisely how to accomplish this. He positioned himself next to the whale's eye once more, gently caressing her as a way to reassure her that he was there to help. Fortunately, the whale responded positively, allowing James to focus on the tail. Now let's discover the whale's reaction after being freed. Once the humpback whale was untangled, she immediately began to move. This was a heartwarming sight as the whale had been at risk of drowning. However, James was unprepared for the extraordinary way in which the whale sought to express her gratitude. Brace yourself for her reaction. After a brief playfulness, the whale swam directly toward James. He described the experience, saying, "It felt as if a train or freight truck was coming for me." But instead of colliding with James, the humpback whale stopped just inches away from him. What's more, she positioned her head close to James and began nudging him, much like dogs and cats do when seeking affection. Witnessing this heartwarming display, James knew exactly what to do. James engaged in playful interaction with the humpback whale, much as one would with a beloved house pet craving attention. This was the whale's way of expressing her gratitude for saving her life. Despite the considerable size difference between James and the humpback whale, he had no fear of engaging with the animal, knowing that it was simply expressing its thanks. Now let's see how the whale bid farewell to James. Although humpback whales are not typically associated with good manners, this particular whale made a point to bid a gracious farewell before departing. This was an extraordinary, once-in-a-lifetime experience, and James should be profoundly grateful for the opportunity to have lived through it. Indeed, not many people would willingly plunge into the deep waters to save such a massive humpback whale.